NVIDIA GeForce RTX 5090 sees a 5 performance drop when running on 3x 8-pin power cables. Well, new NVIDIA's RTX 5090 users should be aware of cables they are using, since not having the right ones might lead to a noticeable performance drop. Early consumers should be aware of the power adapters being used on NVIDIA's RTX 5090 SKUs. 4x 8-pin connectors are a must. This post will serve as a precautionary measure for many of NVIDIA's flagship RTX Blackwell users, since it seems like not utilizing the right power adapter might hold back your respective SKU in terms of performance. While this is a pretty standard concept, Computer Base has actually tested out NVIDIA's GeForce RTX 5090 on 3x 8-pin and 4x 8-pin adapters to see how the drop in power figures leads to performance degradation. Interestingly, supplying 100 watts less power than the optimal number leads to around a 5% drop in rasterized tests. The GPU was tested on 575 watts, 450 watts, and 400 watts TDPs. And it seems like limiting the power supply does make a noticeable difference, although that is indeed obvious. The interesting part here is that the SKU was functional with a 3-pin connection, but the source says that the GPU didn't work on 2x 8-pin connectors, which means that operating the GeForce RTX 5090 on 300 watts is no longer an option. By having 4x 8-pin power connectors on board, you are supplying NVIDIA's RTX 5090 with potentially 600 watts power, and this figure is indeed necessary for heftier variants like the raw Astral GeForce RTX 5090, which is said to be a pretty power-hungry unit. NVIDIA providing users the option to run the GPU on 450 watts is indeed a great measure, since this way, the company makes sure that not having the right power doesn't affect the functionality of the GPU, but it surely will have an influence on the performance. Since NVIDIA's RTX Blackwell GPUs have dropped into the markets recently, we expect a lot more stories to unfold, with one being the SKUs getting bricked, due to unknown issues likely associated with BIOS, the onboard driver, or the key connection. Make sure you are operating your SKUs at ideal conditions, since after the 12V HPWR fiasco, we can never be sure.